Wang noted that the first level of connoisseurship could be achieved via traditional means, which are mostly based on subjective judgments of style instead of objective facts. As a result, Wang noted that the criteria are always obscure and individualistic. In his view, in order to develop a set of standards for scientific judgment, one has to analyze the form of brushstrokes and the compositional structure of the characters. In other words, one has to analyze the brushwork, the composition of the dots and lines, and the physical movement of the artist's working process. Wang proposed applying the research methods of modern linguistics to analyze and study classical Chinese calligraphy, and then to implement the logic of computer programming for scientific authentication. In the 1960s, Wang pioneered the use of computer programming in Chinese linguistics in the West, leading a Chinese-English machine translation research team at IBM. In relation to his work at IBM, Wang envisioned the use of computer programming in connoisseurship in a 1975 article entitled Bada, Shanren, and Computer Science, which was published in an anthology of essays on Bada Shanren. For the first research direction, Wang proposed applying spectrometry to analyze the materials used in calligraphy and painting, including dots and lines created by the brush, negative space, forms of seals, and physical qualities of seal paste. According to this view, anything on paper, such as shape, color, and composition, can be transformed into light waves as long as they are differentiable by the human eye. Different materials will appear distinct in various controlled light conditions, which can help categorize the materials used in painting and calligraphy. The analytical result could then be saved on a computer. When faced with the dilemma of authenticating a classical work by Bada Shanren, one can use spectrometry to scan the work and then compare the result with known authentic data saved on the computer. This method generates objective conclusions. For the second research direction, Wang proposed the use of computer programs to imitate Bada Shanren's working process, or even to create artworks in the manner of Bada Shanren. For this direction, he suggested first understanding the physical movement Bada Shanren employed during his working process, including the complex movements of his fingers, palm, wrist, and elbow. This can be done by gathering and analyzing various kinds of ink dots and lines in Bada Shanren's works, and then studying the physical movement associated with each brushstroke. Then all the information can be synthesized for further study on the artist's habits of using ink and brush. Finally, the result of this analysis can be digitally stored for future use. The negative space left by Bada Shanren, as well as the placement of seals and signatures, follows certain methods of composition. According to Wang, to understand how these brushstrokes form a character, a sentence, and a whole piece of calligraphy, one should study the relationship between each brushstroke, the rules followed in the composition of a character, and the relationship between two characters, a line of characters, and the whole composition. After these analyses, a program can imitate Bada Shanren's working process. Regarding the study of the compositional structure of calligraphy, Wang hypothesized in his manuscripts that one may use the analytical logic of modern linguistics. Based on several years of research experience in linguistics, which included publishing multiple Chinese-English dictionaries and participating in the RCA Corporation's Chinese language project in the 1960s, he pointed out that linguistic evaluation can be divided into 5 analytical categories: phone, phoneme, morpheme, vocabulary, and grammar. The practice of calligraphy can be divided into the use of brushwork, ink, and water technique. Brushwork can be categorized by the movement of the brush into dots, texturing, lines, and coloring. Each of these categories, similar to the phoneme of phone, concerns the painting and positioning of a linear brushstroke. Together, with the use of ink and water and brushwork, these categories form individual units similar to morpheme or vocabulary of linguistic analysis. If one applies the logic of linguistics to calligraphy, morpheme can be compared to the Chinese character's radical, and vocabulary can be compared to a Chinese character's compositional structure. If one applies the logic of linguistics to painting, vocabulary corresponds to painted objects, such as rocks, trees, and houses, although there is no part that corresponds to morpheme. In linguistics, grammar can also be divided into two categories: grammatical word formation and syntax. Grammatical word formation can be compared to the compositional structure of a calligraphic character, while syntax corresponds to the arrangement of space between characters. In painting, the relationship between painting objects. These hypotheses proposed by Wang in 1975 may remind one of present-day quantitative analysis, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. According to Wang, it is necessary to realize that the connoisseurship of Chinese painting and calligraphy can be scientific. Implementing scientific analysis based on empirical evidence can help experts avoid rudimentary mistakes. On the other hand, Wang also pointed out that artists always synthesize various elements of their work into an integral whole, thereby generating the abstract notion of momentum, or shi, which can be too complex to analyze scientifically.